Well, all right, guys. So supposedly, this is going to be working. Although the audio is going to be a bit off because you guys are hearing my microphone, but seeing the video there, which is actually on a bit of a delay, I think. But we'll see. Okay, that's still going. We got like 30 seconds. Here. I'm live. Okay, cool. Sweet. Alright, let's see the stream health. My viewers may be experiencing minor issues. Cool. Good thing they're minor issues. Alright, I haven't streamed in a while, so I apologize here. Now we're gonna go here, and I guess I just kind of wait and hope that Simon and Jason will join the call. But otherwise, I'll look in the chat and I'll answer any questions that people have. As of yet, there will not be any because nobody knows that this live event is happening, right? Oh man, I'm tired. There's one person. What's up, one person? Good to see you. So, I'm gonna try and be doing these mastermind group meetings live. I'm not sure how that's gonna go, but this is the first one that we're doing live. Although no one else is here yet, so we need to give it some time. I just did a video with my mother actually, and I can show you guys a little bit. And it was about this thing called Source Mogul, which is pretty cool. So Source Mogul is an Amazon product research tool, and my mom was using it because she does Amazon FBA. But it would also be super useful to anybody who is drop shipping on Amazon. And a lot of us drop shippers are doing that, right? Oh, that's the sound of someone joining the meeting. What's up, Noah? Can you hear me? I can see you're here. That's pretty awesome. Oh no, Noah's gone. I recognize the name though. Let's see. I'm viewing the stream on my phone, which is a little bit confusing. It's kind of weird with lives because you gotta like participate in the live, but also look at the phone. And the way that I record, I often end up doing this, right? So I can look at my live dashboard here, but then you see like the video playing in the video. It's a bit confusing. What's up, Justin? I actually don't drop ship anymore, so I'm not using DSM tool. I got banned on eBay like months ago, like end of last year. So it's been like 6 months. And honestly, for me, it was a good thing. I didn't get banned because of drop shipping or anything like that. I got banned because I was doing like crazy, stupid stuff, and I scaled too much, got overwhelmed, got in over my head, and got some counterfeit notices that I wasn't actually counterfeiting anything, but eBay's harsh on counterfeiting, so it ended, right? But give me a moment. I gotta figure out how to look at the chat on my phone, because right now it's not showing the chat. It's just showing. Okay, let's see if I go to inbox, library, and then I go to my channel. Here we go. I can go to the live stream, and now I should be able to see the chat. There we go. Good morning, Kyrol Benjamin, and Justin. Would I suggest DSM tool? So yeah, honestly, a lot of the more well-known dropshipping tools, like they're pretty similar, like AutoDS, Yabel, Hustle Got Real, DSM tool. There's a lot of tools like this. So if you want to use a dropshipping tool like this on eBay, there's one thing that you need to understand first, okay? Because eBay's flagging dropshippers. So essentially, if you want to have a lot of sales, you need to learn how to not be flagged in the first place, right? And so nobody really knows for absolute sure how this is happening, but there's one of kind of two thoughts on this, right? So the first that I'm going to talk about is that they're using the API link, right? So some people believe that eBay is looking at the software that you connect to your eBay account, and that eBay has a list of some of the more well-known dropshipping softwares, and that eBay will flag your account because of that link, okay? And this isn't the only way they're flagging accounts. It's just one of the ways, right? So some people think that that's the main way, okay? This is where the kind of disagreement is. A lot of people agree that there's a lot of different ways eBay's flagging accounts, but people don't really agree on what way is the most common way to get flagged, right? So there's the API link, and if you believe that the API link is the main cause of the flag, then essentially you can't really use any software. You have to use something like SKUgrid that manages a CSV file that you can upload to File Exchange, because then there is no connecting to the API, right? However, most people believe that the dropshipping flag on eBay is caused by an item location mismatch. So this is when your tracking numbers, aren't matching the place that you're supposed to be coming from, right? So eBay looks at the tracking numbers that you upload, and they can see that all of your tracking numbers come from one place when your stated location is another place, right? So this is a problem, and it's something that eBay doesn't like, because a lot of buyers, myself included, when I use eBay, or when I used to use eBay, right, because I can't use it anymore, I would look at item location because I was in Virginia. So I would pay a little bit more for an item that was in Florida instead of buying an item from California, because I know that the item in Florida is going to arrive 1 or 2 days later after I purchase it, whereas the item in California will take 2, 3, or 4 days to arrive. It just takes a little bit longer, right? So I would regularly purchase something, even if it was more expensive, if it was closer. However, if the seller isn't being accurate about their stated location, then I make this purchase, I'm spending more money because I believe that I'm going to get the item sooner, and then the item ships out from California anyway. You know, it's a problem in eBay's eyes. And drop shippers have this issue, as well as some physical sellers, just because we don't necessarily know where our item is coming from, right? So, all right, let's see what's going on here. Okay, I can still hear me. That's good. So that's just, if you want to use DSM tool, you have to figure out how you feel about this current situation on eBay. Because if you think that the API link is the most likely flag, then you should use something like SKUgrid, or there's another service that offers a non-API solution. I'm not sure which. And we'll talk more about this in the future. I guess I could talk about that today because nobody else is in the call yet. So I just got to keep talking, right? So, all right, let's look at some of these questions. Bayou, what's up? Says, what's best thing to start selling arbitrage? That's a complicated question because arbitrage basically means opportunity. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Like resale, are you talking about drop shipping? Can you be a little bit more specific there? Okay. For now, I'm going to go to Justin's question, which is drop shipping dying out? So it's not dying out. Okay. Say that you have a specific strategy that has been working with drop shipping on eBay, for example. Yeah, maybe that specific strategy is dying because of the changes that eBay has made, right? However, drop shipping itself is the act of fulfilling an order to another person's address. Drop shipping cannot die. That's like saying business dies. Business can't stop happening. It can't, like, our whole planet would have to blow up for business to stop existing, right? Same thing with drop shipping. Drop shipping is part of business. It's just, oh, Jason's here. Oh, you're here. Awesome. You're live, by the way.
Yo, Jack.
Hey.
Yo. Sorry, I'm late. I was just on the phone.
No, you're cool. You're cool. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Is it better?
1 second. I'm gonna turn my volume up. Okay.
Is it?
Not really, but we'll just have to roll with it. Nice. Oh, I'm glad you're here. I was just talking and I'm like, because I started live streaming these, right? So you're live right now, by the way. And I
Oh
was just
wow.
like,
Okay.
oh, I gotta just keep talking about dropship and stuff, I guess, right? Um, okay.
How's that going?
Huh?
How's that going? Drop shipping.
Well, I'm not doing any of it, but I was I was telling people how what's currently going on with eBay, and somebody asked if like drop shipping is dead. So I was explaining how like drop shipping itself can't actually die because it's a way of doing business. So like thinking that drop shipping is dead is like thinking business is dead. It can't happen unless our planet ceases to exist. Drop shipping
Hmm.
will always be a thing that you can do to earn money. Just the way that
Right.
you have to drop ship can change, right? And it
Yeah.
frequently
Yeah.
does change, which is why if you go to YouTube, you can find videos about drop shipping being dead from 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Like it's always a thing people are asking about. And really, it's because people they perceive something as an opportunity, and it's easier to
Hmm.
tell yourself that something's not an opportunity anymore, because then if you
Right.
stop, well, it's not your fault you stop. You didn't like push away an opportunity in your life. It just wasn't an opportunity anymore. It's outside of your control. So that's why
Right.
people like want to talk about it being dead and that kind of thing. But that
Mhm.
kind of shows a misunderstanding of how dropshipping actually works. If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Totally.
So awesome, man. How have you been doing? How's your week been?
Um. Yeah, pretty good, man. Like, it's really interesting that I'm learning a bunch of things. Like, I'm learning like every day. I'm having like 3 hour Spanish lessons. I mean, yeah, you gotta, yo hablo español. You gotta,
Yo
you
hablo
gotta learn.
español.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you speak Spanish? I imagine you do, right?
I'm learning Spanish. Mi entiendo algo de español, pero mi hablar es malo.
Yeah, you're already like 3 levels above me, man. Like, I never learned Spanish, so I'm learning it. I'm trying to. I think it's very useful. Um, Maybe once I learn it, I'll go to Nicaragua.
Yeah, dude, definitely come visit. That would be awesome.
Bro,
But wait, don't don't
man.
don't wait till you learn Spanish though. Come visit before you learn Spanish.
Okay, I mean, okay, cool. Like, I got to figure a few things out, right? So you asked me how's my week, and my week's been really interesting because, like, remember the question I asked you to ask me like last time,
Yeah.
and basically I spent like my week trying to figure out a way of, like, how the video that you shared in the group about David Wu's like Airbnb arbitrage.
Uh-huh.
Now, I think so. David Wu and Johnny FD, I have to, these guys are super, cool guys, and they do cool things. But if anybody who's watching this video has tried to do Airbnb arbitrage in a city that they don't live in, they're gonna face a few problems. And I especially think nowadays, because that video is what, 3 years old, I think not
Yeah.
2 years old.
So let me clarify for those listening real quick. Jason is talking about Airbnb. So this is like a service. It's an app that you can use to rent out space in a house or an apartment, right? So typically, like a lot of travelers, they'll use Airbnb, and it's usually for short-term staying. So you're going to be somewhere for like a week. So you use Airbnb, you pay for a daily price. So you'd pay for 7 days to the Airbnb host, and then they get that money through an app and that kind of thing. It's an app that creates hotel experiences in people's houses. So you guys have some frame of reference here. So now Jason can continue.
Right. It's a wonderful app. I use it, and So anyway, so let's get back to the problem we try to solve, right? Like, how do you figure out how to do MBB arbitrage in a city that you don't live in? And I would say currently one of the biggest problems that people face would be, okay, so Airbnb, to do this, the process, the few parts. A is the setting up like nowadays, most places you have to get permission from local government, which involves documents and also, which also involves language, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we try to do this thing, somewhere, we don't speak the language. That's a huge barrier, actually. And especially, if you're thinking about the registration part, then you have the operations part, where you really need to be on top of things, especially if you want to have a nice margin. Like, even if you assume in a good place to do Airbnb, you rent in their model, you rent long term and you double that price for short term, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, if you don't speak language, you don't get help. And unless you have tons of money to invest into, I was saying, 10 properties, you won't be making any profit, to be honest, right? Because like the people are not cheap. And especially when you hire people, I think the lowest, percentage people charge you like I don't know, 12%, but that's on revenue, right? So that's literally like 24% on your, on the part where you don't pay for long-term rent and plus utility and things. So what I'm learning now is that it's actually really easy to figure out, like mathematically, if something would work or not for you if you don't speak the language, right? Because if you factor in the price, I guess the next challenge is how do you overcome that, right? And currently, I'm trying to figure that out. I don't have the answer yet because operations is a huge part, and you don't want to screw up. If you screw up, especially in the beginning, it's really bad. Like a bad review. Imagine the 2 bad reviews on a new property on Airbnb. Man, I don't want to do that. And if you do these things in a foreign country, regulatory restriction and requirement, I would say that part of things is even bigger risk than your pure money. Yeah. Because money, if you lose it, if you break a law, you may have some serious consequence.
It's super complicated.
Yeah. So it's not as easy as I think. Thinking the whole process, finding a property, flipping for twice the money, and you can do it. Especially given the current environment where governments are regulating this activity, so it gets more and more complicated. And imagine trying to get a permission for for a flat where you need to get architect involved, right? You need to get a surveyor involved, and you need to apply, and you don't speak language, man. Like, whew,
super.
That's some serious challenge.
So
yeah.
For those of you guys listening, the base premise of what Jason's talking about of this Airbnb model is that you rent a place. This can be a house, an apartment, whatever. You don't own it. You're renting it. And then you rent it out to people through Airbnb. And Airbnb is like, typically it's okay for Airbnb to be more expensive than like monthly rent because it's so short term. So people are more willing to pay more because it's only for like a weekend or a week or maybe a couple days, something like this, right? So it's actually like a subletting business where you rent the real estate and then you rent it out to people through Airbnb. And ideally, you have enough customers so that your rentals through Airbnb pay for your rent, and then whatever's after that, minus fees and everything, is the profit. So what Jason's pointing out is that it's a little bit complicated because depending on the country you're in, the state you're in, the town you're in, all of the laws surrounding this activity change a lot, right? For example, in the USA, there's some states where subleasing is straight up illegal. You can't rent something that's being rented. So it's not that it's completely illegal. It's that if you look in your rental agreement, like if you look in your lease, it often specifically says that you can't sublet, right? However, it's also super common for people to say that you can't sublet, but then people sublet anyway. I'm an example of, like, I am renting from somebody who rents a house, and I just rent a room from them. This is a super, super common situation. And so that's one of the tricky parts about Airbnb, because it's, while there are a lot of regulations about like hotels and these kind of things, technically anybody can just use Airbnb. Anybody could open the Airbnb app and start renting out their space. So it's really tricky to keep track of everything. And there are certain local governments that don't like this because like they don't get any tax money out of it. You know, there's a lot of regulations that hotels have to follow. And then these Airbnb people just don't necessarily follow these things, right? And it's definitely a coming of era thing, because like on one hand, even if you're in an area where technically you need to have certain regulations, like the chance of something happening in the beginning is pretty unlikely, because it's essentially an Airbnb business in the beginning looks like you just have friends coming over, and that's it really. There's not anything super attention grabbing about it. But as it gets bigger, then it does get complicated. At what point are you a hotel? Like, at what point are you not just casually letting people stay in your house? You know, like, and it's super tricky.
Yeah. And by the way, Jack, you know, you mentioned that you're renting if somebody else was renting a house, right? A larger place. And
yeah,
imagine, I mean, I don't know what happens in Nicaragua. I don't know people to contract, but like, I guess you're there under he's under the assumption that, you know, understanding that you're going to be there for a couple months and not a
year,
few days.
Yeah.
That's a key difference. I think like for most governments around the world, like if you're there for like more than 3 months, they are much more okay with it. And if you're there for a short period of time, like I guess like one of their concerns, right, is will be neighbors, right? And by the way, the difficulties will be much less significant for people who own their place, because like you don't have that 50% cost, right? That's your margin of error, right? So you're probably okay maybe making 20%, right? Maybe, I don't know, depending on the people, right? But
yeah, it depends. If you already are paying the bills to live there, then you can just have the Airbnb room and rent it out, and you get to, like, you had to pay rent anyway, regardless. So it's not like it's a cost of operation. Whereas if you're renting a place that you're not involved with specifically because you're doing this business model, then not only is that a cost of operation, but you also need to have an employee who will manage the property for you and greet the people, or you need some kind of system to clean it, all these kind of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. How about you? How's your week? What did you do, Ben?
So I've been like Skillshare full time.
Damn.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've almost finished my second course, which is actually about live streaming with OBS.
Cool.
So essentially, like, I want to be a full-time Skillshare instructor. That's like what I want for my life right now. So I'm just like being like, okay, how do I increase the chance of this happening? How do I do everything possible to expose myself to Skillshare courses? So as I mentioned before, I'm doing this 30-day intro to Skillshare, where I take one Skillshare course per day from another instructor. I watch one YouTube video about Skillshare per day, and I publish one course per week, right? So I'm on like day 11 of this this series right now, and I'm almost done with my second course. And it's interesting because like I haven't been this diligent in anything I've done in the past. Like, I like how I'm researching my competitors, I'm looking at their courses, I'm figuring out what they did wrong and making sure that I don't make the same mistakes. Like, I'm doing so much product research, it feels weird. I'm used to just being like, la la la, tens of thousands of items, whatever.
But that means you're much more focused, right? Like, I mean, you're no longer who you were, right? I think you're much more focused a person.
Yeah, definitely. But it's, I mean, my environment just makes it so easy. Like, I live with people who like feed me and support me emotionally. They care really deeply about me. If I'm sad, they can tell. They ask me what's wrong. They know how to like show me love and affection and make me feel better. They go to bed earlier, wake up early. Like, and so me being here, it's so easy to just be like them. Like, it's hard to not be focused because there's nothing in my way. Like, nothing at all in my way aside from myself.
Bro, like, do you have extra room? I might come.
Yeah. No, you should absolutely visit me. That would be awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely
okay,
welcome.
It's great. Like, I have a goal of like learning Spanish. So because everybody speaks Spanish, so maybe that's a perfect place, and it's cheaper than Spain.
There's nothing faster than immersion for learning a language.
Yeah.
Even if you live in a country where they speak the language, even if you're not trying to learn it, you're gonna be exposed to it, and you're gonna feel more comfortable with it. You know.
Exactly. Maybe one day we'll do this in Spanish, right? We'll have a new audience, right? We'll have Spanish. Yeah, you'll be like a Spanish streamer now, you know?
Yeah.
Your niche.
Yeah, so it's actually funny that you bring up Spanish because so I'm taking a different Skillshare course every day, right? And I'm paying a lot of attention to the way that the instructors make the courses, if I, as a student, have an easy time paying attention or not, these kind of things, right? So I've taken like 3 quick Spanish courses, and a lot of these talk about concepts that you can use to learn a language, not so much teaching you the language itself, right? And one of the most interesting ones so far has been this, I don't know if this is true, but it's an interesting way to think. And supposedly, if you learn 1,000 of the most common words in a language, you can understand roughly 93% of conversation.
Wow.
Okay. And then if you learn the first 3,000 most common words, then you can understand like 94%. So think about that for a second. The first 1,000 words, 93% of conversation. Triple that amount, and you get a 1% increase in the amount of conversation you can actually understand. And it's a really interesting concept because it talks about how most of our conversations are created with words that are super, super common. So say that you're learning 10 Spanish words a day, but they're super scientific words. They're not common words. You could learn 2,000 words, but still not be able to understand any conversation, really. Whereas if you look at the most common words and you make sure you understand these 1,000 of the most common words used in a language, then you're going to at least kind of understand what people are saying. Maybe you don't understand them perfectly, but you can get the gist of what they're talking about, right? So a lot of these courses talk about this concept of like, just because you're learning new words doesn't mean that it's really contributing to the amount that you're able to understand. So it's really important that you're learning the words that people commonly use in the area that you're trying to study.
I mean, that's, if we think about it, it's super true. And I mean, hey, Jack, do you speak any other languages other than English?
Which is silly because I didn't live in an English-speaking country until I was like 11. But I was always a foreigner in foreigner compounds. I was the son of teachers of British international schools. So I lived in communities of English speakers in foreign countries, which is why I never learned any languages.
I can really, I mean, like I learned English, right? So I had to learn English from scratch, and my experience there really helped me to understand what I need to be able to understand Spanish on a level where it's fluent or native, right? I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm like a literary, like a wordsmith, like that. No, that's never, right? Like, but you're absolutely right. Like, I don't know if you heard of this story, right? So, I think I read somewhere in a study where like in everyday conversation, we only use about 500 words in English. 500 words, and the rest is just grammar, right? Like, so I thought to myself, okay, like once you know the vocabulary, and if you can put sentences together, the structure of sentences, then you're pretty much good to go. Then from that level, then you can go into become, much more, then you can read about, Lord of the Rings, right?
Fluency.
Yeah, like then you can get a literary fluency that's beyond, language capability, right? Like
Yeah.
simply performing. Yeah, it's absolutely true, man.
And that's something that's important to understand too, because learning a language can seem so incredibly intimidating. But really, you don't need to become fluent. What you need is to just be able to navigate within the language. So you need to be able to identify when you don't know a word and ask somebody what the word is within the language. Like, it just happens in English all the time. Like, oh, I'm trying to explain this emotion, but I don't know what the word for it is. So I'll explain, like, I get my heart beats, I feel really excited, I feel a little bit nervous around this person. Like, oh, you probably have an attraction or you're in love, like that. Oh, okay. We determined what the word was within the language, right? So if you can learn the words necessary to navigate and ask these kinds of questions, you put yourself in a position where when you are around other speakers of the language, even though you're not fluent and even though you don't recognize most of the words, you can actually like ask what the word is. Like in Spanish, this is like, ¿Cómo se dice en español? ¿Cómo se dice mirror en español? Like being able to ask what the word is in Spanish. Obviously, that only is relevant if you're around someone who knows English and Spanish as well, because then they can answer. But it's pretty common for younger people, at least with English, to have some level of English, even in countries like Nicaragua or, where they don't speak English as the main language.
Yeah. English is is so common these days everywhere.
Yeah.
Did you read anything interesting this week?
Read anything? No, I actually haven't been reading. I've just been doing my Skillshare, and working on the OBS course. And so one of the things that I'm learning about Skillshare is that it's really effective to post in the community on Skillshare. So Skillshare has like discussions and forums and stuff that you can post on. And I'm trying to think about like every possible way that I can really maximize my following on Skillshare and really establish myself as a Skillshare instructor, right? And so one of the things that I've noticed is that like anytime that I comment on another instructor's page, they often will respond and then ask questions about what I'm doing or go to my page and follow me. So this is a huge deviation from me because I've always been way away from social media. I'm not active on Udemy. I'm not active on Facebook. I don't respond to stuff really. Like sometimes I will, but I've never been like, oh, okay, today I'm going to sit down for 30 minutes and respond to some questions, right? Like I don't really do that a whole lot. But I have been doing it on Skillshare, and it's really interesting how like the results from that, like especially because Skillshare has these workshops, right? Where they're like, okay, for the month of March, we're having a teach challenge, and they do one per month. And they pretty much just encourage first-time instructors to post their courses. So they'll be like in the beginning, okay, cool, introduce yourself, say what you're experienced in and what you'd like to do. And then a week later, all right, now publish your outline of what you want your course to look like. Okay, a couple days later, all right, now publish your introduction video and share it with us so we can give you feedback. And it's this really like immersive experience. And what's been cool is that most of these discussions, they're not super, super active, right? So you have the first-time instructor who posts something, and then maybe a Skillshare staff or maybe another person will post one comment. But what I've been doing is going through and asking people questions, like figuring out what they enjoy and then trying to ask them a question that gets them to explain what they're passionate about, right? It's been super interesting because I can see that it's inspiring people and they'll respond to that and then also go and look at other people's discussions. And it's like this freaking catalyst where you timing a message just right and being really encouraging then gets this other person to then be that way with other people. And it's like, it's really, really cool. So I've been spending a lot of time on Skillshare. That's like everything I've been doing. That's my reading right now.
Yeah, man, that's super interesting to me. So hold on, like let me try to understand this better, right? So Skillshare is a platform where you pay a monthly subscription fee instead of like
you pay $15 a month or $9 if you pay. So if you want to do a 1 yearly payment, then it's like $8 a month or $9 a month total. And it's like a $90 charge or something like that for 12 months. or you can do a monthly pay-as-you-go payment, which is $15.
Right.
And for anybody who wants to try it out, you get a 60-day free trial if you sign up through an instructor. If you sign up just through Skillshare, then you get like a 30-day free trial or something like that. So it's always better to find an instructor and get a link from them, because then you can get a 60-day. Huh?
Do you have a link?
Yeah, it's actually in the description.
Okay, cool.
But actually, let me make sure. Let me put it in the description real quick, because this is a live stream, so the description's a bit different. Jack Pittman, YouTube, efficiency group A3. Here we go.
Well, just following from what you
have it here. Here we go. Okay, I need to go to view profile. Refer a friend. There it is. Here we go. Yeah. All right, now put this in the live link, live dashboard. Join Skillshare. Okay, cool. Now it is in the live dashboard. All right, so I'm looking at some questions real quick, Jason. So I'll read some, and then we can kind of respond to them. Let's see. They're all going to be about dropshipping because, you know, such is my life. Hey, Ale's watching. What's up, Ale?
What's up, man?
Okay, so Chi5 says... Oh, Yakin says, así es como se dice. Which means, yeah, it's like, how do you say? Chi5 says, hey guys, can you help me out on eBay? I get views, but no sales. What can I do to get sales? Well, Jason?
Oh man, like, so okay, like,
another person.
Boom, right? Like, boom, we have another person here.
Whoa, what's up, Josh?
Oh,
he's gone. Okay.
Wait, maybe it's rejoin.
Yeah, they'll probably come back.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Jack, you are much more qualified to about dropshipping than I am, but you know, I'm very limited in my experience. So
hey, you're an active dropshipper. I'm not an active dropshipper, so a lot of people wouldn't agree with that statement you just made.
Okay.
You're not banned on eBay.
I mean, okay, cool. Like, so why I don't even care about views anymore. So I recently learned the concept between views and conversion, right? So, you know, I think this has been mentioned in one of the Zik analytics video where they said, like, you know, you want to, like, how many views you have is almost irrelevant if it does not convert, right? So you want to try to phrase, this is what I learned. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Okay. So, you know, you want to use long keywords in your title whereby, you know, it targets more specific audience who are more likely to buy than simply, you know, saying a computer where you know, gets tons of views, but, you know, people probably don't buy a generic computer from somebody with very little reviews, right? Like,
you're gonna go on eBay and just find an eBay listing that is just computer, nothing else.
Yeah, man, like, imagine that, right? So, man, like, I don't know, like, I guess it's just like, for me, I try to, I don't know where the you know, what stage the person's at, but I think if we're at the beginning, look, man, just list, just keep listing, grow it, right? Maybe later you're at a place where, you know, like, look, there are two ways dropshipping that I see, right? Jack, tell me if you agree, right? The one you used to do is your let's say that your conversion rate is super low, right? You are totally different from, you know, DSG Mark guy, right?
Yeah.
But the law of average dictates that if you have that big of a selection, you will definitely get, even if it's a tiny part of the sale, right? It's just what happened, right? So if people want to know how to increase their sale, if they only have 100 listings, man, like, I have no idea. I hope you get lucky, man. I hope you get super lucky. But otherwise, man, just list. I don't know. That's best to my ability to take answer.
Yeah, so it's definitely like, it's a pretty loaded answer to explain why something is getting views but no sales. And so I do agree with what Jason was saying, that views don't necessarily correlate to sales. For example, you could post an iPhone, right, that you are drop shipping from Amazon or somewhere. So you're buying an iPhone for like $800 and you post it for like $1,300, right? This listing will get loads of views just because it's an iPhone. There's so much people looking at Apple iPhones, right? However, the chance of it selling is incredibly unlikely. So even though it's getting loads and loads of views, that doesn't mean anything about whether it's actually going to sell. And what you'll find as well is that there are products like one-off sales that will sell on like the 6th or 7th view. But that doesn't mean that everything's going to sell as soon as it gets 6 or 7 views. Views are really not an accurate metric. They just tell you if your item exists on eBay or if it doesn't exist, basically. Like if something's getting 0 views, maybe it's not even in the search results. Whereas if it is getting views, okay, it's in the search results. When it comes to actually being able to understand if your item is going to sell or not, a better indication is watchers, because a watcher has more interest in the item. A view is just, okay, they saw it for a moment. That doesn't mean that they have a connection to the item. It doesn't mean that they actually want to buy it from you. It doesn't mean that they're interested. Whereas if they watch the item, that shows a level of commitment. They are at least interested in the item. So having more watchers can be an indication that an item has more interest, whereas having more views doesn't necessarily mean this, right? But again, these are just general rules of thumb. It's possible for an item to sell with 0 watchers. That happens. It absolutely does happen. So really, like Jason said, if you're looking at your views, that probably means that you've posted some items to eBay and you're impatient and you want results. And instead of posting new items, you're looking at the items you've already posted. And in general, especially in the beginning, you just need to keep posting items. You can absolutely get yourself to a point where you could have a store with only 40 or 50 items and all of them sell every day. Like, that is a real thing that happens. And that's one reason so many people follow Mark Augustine, is because he is able to create stores like that. And that is actually kind of the ideal store, because you don't have to manage hundreds and hundreds of thousands of items. You just have your 40 or 50. You have so much sales history on eBay that you're able to continuously sell the products. But it's important to understand that it's not like these people just pick an item and then boom, it starts selling. They have a pruning process, right? So they'll post like 10, 20, 100 items and then look at the metrics, look at how people are engaging with their listings, look at the watchers, look at competition, and then they'll delete every single one of them except the one that is performing best, right? And then they'll do it again and again and again. And they're super, super picky about their pruning process. Okay, so if you want to have one of these stores where you have a few amount of items that are selling really regularly, you do have to put a lot of time and attention into the metrics of your listings. But it's not as simple as just creating a listing and then knowing that it's like a magic winning product. Like, that's a super common question, is like, how do I find the winning product? You have to create the winning product. It's not as simple as there just being a winning product and you create the listing. You have to create the whole experience. You have to understand what the competition is doing. You have to understand the price points. You have to understand the kinds of people who will be buying your item. You have to understand your source. You have to understand so much information and data in order to be able to be profitable that way. So in order to get to that point where you understand all that stuff, you got to keep listing new items and get more experience and watch more videos and talk to more people. So if you're having trouble with sales, whoever's listening, that's our advice to you. Okay. Okay, so Josh didn't mean to join. He tried to join the Discord group and then accidentally joined the live chat.
Oh man, I wish we could. There's a function where we can keep people here; they can't leave.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Kieran is so Kieran Broadley is someone I recognize the name. He's commented before. And so he has 9,000 listings at the moment. Which is so it's interesting because it's more common now to have larger amounts of listings. In the past, like I remember when I took David Vu's dropshipping course, this was like three or 4 years ago, right? 3 years ago. His store had like 7,000 items in it or something, and I was like, holy crap, that's so many items. Oh my god. And it's times have changed now, right? Software is so much better. You can like have bigger stores quite simply. But 9,000 is good. Don't go past 10,000. I don't think people should go past 10,000. But so Jason, let's get back to
or actually, are there more questions, Jack?
let's see. Oh, how many items before? Yeah, okay, so there's one more. So Bo says, how many items before you got banned? So I had posted in my lifetime over 400,000 unique items to eBay. At any given moment, there weren't that many posted. That was like my lifetime history, right? At the biggest point in the store, it was 130,000 items with like 15,000 of them being out of stock. Because the way that you post large amounts of items like that, it's hard to identify every single out of stock item. So you inevitably end up posting out of stock items and then they get corrected and you can take them down later. But it's just kind of part of that process, right? So for some reference too into the chance of you getting banned through counterfeit, I had posted over 300,000 items, and 4 specific items is what led to me getting banned over a period of 8 months. So of those 300,000, 1% of 1% of 300 is 3. So 1% of 3,000 is 0.3. And so 1%, oh no, that's not, I'm doing it the wrong way. It's a really small portion for 4 items out of 300,000. Like that's not something that you really realistically have to worry about happening to you. It happened to me because of the way I was posting items. And I was trying to prevent problems, but essentially I had a filtering process to prevent problems like this. And the filtering process only enabled me to prevent the problems that I already knew about. Like, you're not supposed to sell guns, for example, or banned products like Lego, this kind of thing, right? However, I had no way to know that the company Global Keratin was going to report me for counterfeiting. So, you guys can hear the street vendors.
Excellent local culture induction.
Yeah, it's pretty funny
actually,
here.
Okay, I actually have a question, right? Which is this, right? Knowing everything you know now, if you could be dropshipping, will you be dropshipping right now? Will you spend your time on dropshipping, given everything that you know now?
So there is one thing I would do. And so what I learned from posting all of those hundreds of thousands of items is that sell-through rate doesn't change much at all when price of item changes. So I experienced a sell-through rate of between 0.5 and 0.8. It varied. Usually it was 0.6. But it didn't change that much. And again, this is without product research, just scanning Walmart, eliminating items associated with problems,
right,
and posting everything that's left. That was the process, right? I was essentially just scraping Walmart, figuring out, okay, these are definitely banned, don't post those, but post everything else. So doing that, the sell-through rate was on average like 0.6, and it really didn't change that much. And this is super interesting because price of item affects how much profit you get hugely, right? If you sell a $1,000 item, you are earning way more money than if you sell a $20 item. However, the sell-through rate is pretty much the same when you bulk post like this. So the money lies absolutely in these more expensive items. And if I wanted to apply everything that I've learned, and if I wasn't banned on eBay, what I would be doing is having an anchor store with up to 10,000 items that are all around $1,000. And make sure that I'm using like Amazon as a source so it ships quickly. Because what I found in this scenario is that one, a lot of people are super scared of these big items. And you kind of do have to have a healthy fear of it because it's problematic for your cash flow. And a lot of these sales are fraudulent. So what you have to do is be preventative with this. You can't just get a sale and assume that because the person bought it, that it's their right information. You literally have to call them, call their phone number, and ask them if they really placed the order. And if they didn't place the order, you cancel it straight away. Because if you catch the fraud, you can't get in trouble for it. Because the transaction's already been refunded, the customer already knows, they're not going to report you to PayPal or to eBay. So you have to do that because it is super common to experience fraud when you're having these $1,000 sales. Like we're talking about like maybe 1 in every 3 or 4 of these sales is fraudulent.
Holy moly.
Yeah. You absolutely have to catch the fraud before eBay or PayPal does because otherwise your account gets jeopardized. So as long as you do that and you can manage the cash flow, it's super good money. Like I said, you don't have to do as much research. And there's way, way, way less competition because people are super intimidated by these big items, so they're less likely to post them. And also, people have account limits. So why would a newer person post $2,000 items when they could try and post $220 items or something like that, you know? It's just not in most people's best interest, which creates this gap. It creates much less competition for these really expensive items, right? So towards the very end of my eBay account, that's one thing I had started doing, and it was enabling me to pay my bill, whereas the other reckless posting wasn't really earning me much money. So that was the thing that had been more profitable, and if I wasn't banned on eBay, that is what I would be doing now. Like, absolutely, because it was just like, even if you have to fully refund $1,000 sale, every couple sales, you can refund a sale fully for every 4 or 5 sales that you get and still be profitable. Like $1,000 refund and still be profitable after 5 sales. Like some of these sales, especially if you incorporated gift cards and cashback, like the amount of cashback you get on $1,000, that's like 50, 60 bucks straight away. But not straight away, obviously, you get it later. But it's super noticeable. And then also gift cards. Say you're able to get gift cards for 5 or 10%. That's another $50, $100, you know? And in this situation, back then, I was able to purchase Amazon accounts. So I could get an Amazon account for 10%, right? So $1,000 sale, automatically $100, even if everything else is breaking even, right? So you're so able to tap into the margins when you have these really, really big sales. And that is really, yeah. If I was going to apply everything I learned, it would be to specifically have an anchor store, to have less than 10,000 items, and to have the average sale price be around $1,000. Like maybe a bit less than that, because it's a little bit tricky because it's kind of hard to find that many products that are at that price point. So maybe you have all of your products are at least $500, but up to $1,100, right? But the profit from those sales was insane. Like you would get like $100 to $200 of raw profit from the sale, and then add the cash back, gift cards. Like it was crazy. The good days.
Man, it is so interesting, so interesting. By the way, Jack, have you ever thought about, because I know you have different groups, right? With, I don't know, different topics or whatever. Have you ever thought about doing like a session with, like just group everything together and have a like topic beforehand?
What do you mean?
Like, for example, I don't know, like I imagine you have other groups who discuss maybe similar or different things. Have you ever thought about having everybody together where we can share even more things, like in one video?
So it's kind of hard to find people who are willing to show their faces and talk about stuff. In general, those kind of people represent 1% or less than available people. So like, That's why you'll notice like there's 14, 15 people in the Discord chat.
Yeah.
And that's growing, but nobody's on the call. Like that's normal.
But that's okay though, right? Like I mean, maybe they don't. Not everyone needs to show.
Yeah. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'd rather people be in the Discord chat and not on the call than not in the chat at all. You know. But it is important to understand that most people aren't willing to show their faces and talk. And maybe some people want to, but they're too intimidated by it. So like,
okay,
the only way that I can get groups of people to do this is by hosting events like this and building those communities. I can work with existing YouTubers to do that. And that's something I've done a little bit about. But because I'm really like, I'm not trying to be known as just a dropshipper. I want more out of my life than just dropshipping information. And that's honestly something that like, the reason, it's kind of ironic because the reason that I got known as a dropshipper is because there was a period of my life where at my core, I believed that dropshipping was the absolute best opportunity for me. And I was super passionate about it and super excited and super energetic. And I really deeply cared about it. And that's because I wanted to change my life. And I was able to change my life, right? But the reason I got a following for my dropshipping content was because of that belief that I had in dropshipping. But after I got banned, my lifestyle has changed completely. I'm not struggling anymore. I can do anything that I want. I don't have a day job anymore. I can spend my time however I want. So I have a completely different circumstance now. And I'm in a kind of an interesting situation because for me, I'm not as passionate about dropshipping because I don't need dropshipping anymore. Whereas in the past, I was really struggling. I needed something to get me out of that struggle and into something more stable. And dropshipping is what allowed me to do that in the past. Whereas now, I want to work with people. I want to do things that are really fulfilling. I want to do things that really, like, I feel that excitement about. And I just don't really feel that about dropshipping anymore. And that's not because of the circumstance of dropshipping now. It's just because of my life and that I don't need dropshipping to change my lifestyle. I have a great lifestyle. I just want to focus on how to make it better, how to connect more with people. So it's kind of ironic because I can't give people what they want regarding dropshipping for that reason. I can supply information, but I don't have that emotional connection to dropshipping anymore. And that's the reason that people followed me in the past. Like really at its core, that was why. So now I'm trying to figure out like what I feel that way about. And it seems to be Skillshare, but you know, that's kind of inconvenient for all the drop shippers listening because they don't give a fuck about Skillshare, you know? Like,
but here's something I want to point out to all the drop shippers, right? Like, you know, I think on YouTube or wherever, right? Like you have, you know, these people, you know, it's showing you like it's a good life, right? Like drop shipping don't do anything. You know, if like, I don't know, it makes things look easy. But I don't know what people's experiences are, but if you're really grinding the dropshipping, this thing could be boring as hell, man. Like, I mean, just imagine like posting shit, like having to answer all these stupid questions every single time, man. Like being that, like you said in your videos before, like dropshipping is like it's like a springboard for you to go to do something much more, I don't know, engaging, meaningful.
Yeah.
And I absolutely hope people put things into perspective. Like dropshipping is, you know, may sound like a much better option than your 9-to-5, okay? But there are a lot of challenges and downsides that you don't see in the videos. Like you don't, right?
Yeah,
like,
a lot of people don't talk about it. It's true.
Right. You think you follow this process, then very soon you'll be earning X amount of money. But man, like it's probably not gonna be like that, and you don't have to work a lot harder than you think you need to, and man, you really need to grind through the boredom. And I mean, I have to say, the dropshipping itself is like it's interesting when you have to figure things out. Like, you know, for example, you have to figure things out which product niche, right? But it's incredibly boring to like research.
Post items, yeah.
Because man, like that kills me. Like literally kills me. Like. But yeah, I just want to point that out, man. Like I'm very happy for you, Jack. Like I mean, I got to know you through your dropshipping, right? But I'm much happier engaging with you in a much broader sense because, man, like, you know, if people really want to make money, there are tons of ways to make money, right? You just got to do shit. But please do not underestimate what that would take out of you, right? So I just want to say that, yeah.
And so that brings up an interesting point. So I'll talk about something. I gotta end the call soon, but first I want to mention something that Kieran stated. So he said, do you think eBay can still change people's lives? I want to find a way to earn money online so I can travel to different places and meet new people. And then in reference to this conversation, he's talking about outsourcing and hiring a virtual assistant. So I absolutely do believe that eBay can change people's lives. However, eBay isn't going to change your life for you. eBay is something that you can use to change your life. But if you're not careful, it's going to take that change away. Like, eBay's not super stable. And if you look at eBay as a company, it's not doing well. But it's hard to see that because of how big eBay is. eBay is a huge, huge company, and they're so well known that even if they're not growing, it doesn't really look like that because they're eBay, you know? And eBay's kind of gotten a bit lost in this itself. It doesn't really know what it is. It views Amazon as better. It's trying to become like Amazon, but that's not a good way to do business, you know? And again, like one thing I've talked a lot about in the past is this chart. If you go to Google Trends, you can actually, and if you compare the amount of interest in eBay versus Amazon, right? eBay, and going to compare Amazon. So let's look at over since the beginning of time. So Jason, you can't see this right now because we're on Zoom, but anybody watching the live stream can see the screen that I'm showing. So I'm in Google Trends, and I'm showing the interest over time since 2004 in eBay versus Amazon. So in 2004, Amazon had about a third the amount of interest as eBay. And this kind of maintained itself until around 2008. Where eBay started to decline and Amazon started to increase. Then in 2010, for the first time, Amazon became more interesting to people than eBay, according to Google. Then it dipped down, so they're pretty much the same. And from that point, Amazon has just been outgrowing eBay, and eBay is losing interest. eBay at this point now is lower interest-wise, according to Google Trends, than it has ever been in all of time. Well, since 2004. And it's really important to understand that, like, eBay is a tool that you can use to get yourself out of one situation and into another situation. But if you blindly just pursue eBay, you are relying on something that isn't reliable, okay? You can make eBay reliable, but the amount of time, effort, and energy that goes into creating multiple identities and having them all be completely independent of one another and setting that whole process up, the reality is only like a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. That's a quarter of that income, right? But because I live in Nicaragua, I have income from Udemy, because I have affiliate work, it's okay. I can still live a great life here, even with my course sales being at their minimum. But if it wasn't for all of these other income streams, that would not be a reality. I would have to get a job again. And then getting a job means working a lot for less money and then becoming numb mentally and having a harder time creating new income streams. So that's not ideal at all. Okay, one second. Let's see. And so, yeah, Kieran, the answer to the boring part really is to hire VAs and do that, because that absolutely does make a huge difference.
Jack, like maybe next time, right? Would it be possible for you to talk about your experience with working with VAs? Because, like, you know, what specific part of operations can somebody give to a VA, and what would that entail? Because it's gonna be really helpful.
Awesome. All right, guys. So I gotta head out, get into this other call.
Perfect.
I'll end the stream now.
Have a good one. All right.
See you, Jason.
Adios.
Ciao.
Yes. Bye-bye.